I didn't do my coffee. Boom! We're live. Welcome everyone. Hello. Welcome to my 24-hour stream. My gosh. I can't believe it's here, to be honest. I can't believe we made it. Let's just have a look here. Let me do some housekeeping here. Just to say that I've started. Let me share it out. Copy that link out. If you're coming in, say hi in the chat. Let me know you're there. If you're watching, if not, then well, don't bother. Actually, I don't need that Google open. Get rid of it. Tell you what, let's do a nice little slideshow of pictures. How do we do this? Slideshow. That's it. Slideshow with that one. No files. Oh well, there we go. That didn't work. Right, let me post this out. And put we are live for the next 24 hours. We are live for the next. I haven't even made my coffee yet, guys. 24 hours. I need to go make a coffee, alright. I wanted to have one ready, but then suddenly all of a sudden I was trying to, what the hell? I was trying to sort something out, and then all of a sudden I only had 3 minutes left. And then it just was like, it's waiting. So, right, there we go. What? We are blah, 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 live. What? Hey, this keyboard is going to have to go the way of the dinosaurs. Right, there we go. Sort that out. Save that. I can exit off all Facebook now. I don't need Facebook. Right, so that's that. There we go. Right, so now I can see coming in. Don't need to have that brought up, to be honest. So yeah, say hi in the chat if you're there. So yeah, what are we going to do today? Well, what are we doing for the next 24 hours? Well, I better put my phone on silent first so we don't get any messages. I've got my water and I've got my medication because at the moment I've just had surgery, right? Just had my hernia removed from my belly button. So it's, yeah. It's a bit painful, so I'm on medication. So I'll be taking that throughout. Because I've got to take it like every... So like I've just taken some cocodamol, and then I've got to take my ibuprofen or whatever, literally in an hour. So, my watch! My Fitbit! I got to get my watch, I left it in the bathroom. Hang on a second. I believe I forgot that. Yeah, so I gotta basically take it in the next, I think, 45 minutes. Took it at 1:45, so I've got 45 minutes, and then I can take it again. Let me get comfortable here, because it's all about being comfortable. Right. So, what are we gonna do for the next 24 hours? Well, I've got a bit of a confession to make, to be honest, because it's not going to be a continual 24-hour stream. I was speaking with YouTube last night, and evidently you know, there's two ways I could handle this. I could do a continual 24-hour stream, but then YouTube wouldn't keep the video afterwards. They wouldn't keep it on my channel for archived reasons. And I was like, right, okay. So, and there are segments of this that I do want to keep for future reference. Empty that recycle bin. So, the only other way to do this is to keep the stream under 12 hours in length, and then it will get saved to my YouTube channel. And that way, for anybody who either missed it or who wants to watch it, or for me to be able to borrow clips from for future reference or future use, then I can do that. So this is the intro, okay? This is literally going to be, in fact, I better put that in the title, hadn't I? Intro. Let me just type that in the title. Intro. Do it in capitals. Oh, what is this with that button? I keep pressing it by mistake. Intro, and then in brackets we'll put 2 hours. No, 1 hour. It's going to be 1 hour in length. My keyboard skills are just no good. I keep hitting the keys. I'm used to a keyboard where the shift button is a lot larger. Okay. And I keep pressing this other button, right? Okay, so if I now save that, right, it should show up now in the actual thing. When the page is refreshed or when people come in, it'll say 1 hour. So yeah, basically this stream itself is only going to last an hour. This is just the introduction, the setup, make sure everything's working, and then at 11 o'clock we're going to start the stream, right? Which I'll have to advertise off again because it's going to be a flight simulation stream, and I've kind of done a little itinerary of what I'm going to be doing. So at 11 a.m. we're going to do a flight simulated flight from Cosford in the UK, where I've got my C-152 sitting right now, waiting to be used. In fact, I didn't actually check it. Oh yes, I did. That's fine. That's okay. Where it's just sitting on the tarmac right now. There it is right there. And yeah, so we're going to fly from there to Belfast. The idea is that we were going to go, hop along to the United States in a C-152. Now their range is something like 1,500 kilometers. They can't travel very far. So obviously, I couldn't cross the Atlantic in it because I'd crash like not even midway through. I'd run out of petrol. So the only way to do it is you've got storage space in the back, right? And if I was to build little custom tanks in the back, fill it with fuel, I could take additional fuel, probably like 500 pounds worth of fuel or something like that. That would then extend the range of the C-152. So it could basically get me from the UK to Iceland with no trouble, It probably, I think it's the top of Scotland, Wick, I think it's called, and then from there to Iceland, and then from Iceland to Greenland, and then from Greenland to Canada, and then it would use the fuel in the tanks, and then it would use the fuel in the back. And basically I'd fly up towards the Arctic Circle, where the crossing of the Atlantic is like very small, because of the curvature of the Earth, and then come down through Canada to New York, and come down the East Coast and head to the Grand Canyon. That was the original idea, but that's actually going to take like a week to do, of flying, and plus I use real world weather. So there's going to be some days where I can't even fly because it'd be way too dangerous. So I thought to myself, do you know what? We're going to take off in the C-152 from Cosford, because that's where my plane is sitting right now. We're going to fly to Belfast. Okay, so we're still crossing the Atlantic. Still a dangerous mission, right? We're going to go to Belfast. We're going to land. Okay. From Belfast, there is a plane waiting. What plane is it again? It is the Fokker F-27. And that's a picture of it right there. Okay, so that plane right now is sitting in Belfast, waiting for us to pick it up. And then we fly that to Iceland, and then we fly that to Greenland, and we fly that then to Canada, and then down to New York, and that's where we'll probably end up ending the flying, which should be sometime between 7 p.m. tonight and 10 p.m. tonight, providing everything goes smoothly. If it don't go smoothly, then it ain't gonna happen, all right? So, yeah. So that's what the plan is. Then at 10 p.m. tonight, we are going to I'm going to do a book read. Now, I've got a book coming out in October called Lords and Kings: The Blood Wars. That's my copy, the editor's proof copy for me, okay, or what I call the author's copy. And this is just to see what it looks like in print. I'm going to give this away sometime during the stream. All the prizes that will be announced at the end of the 24-hour-a-thon, which will be 9 a.m. Well, it finishes at 10 a.m., but the prizes will be announced at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So, you know, all you have to do to enter in the competition to win this book, right, and actually I will write it in the thing below, is basically like the stream, the video, right? For each 4 of the streams, then subscribe to my channel, okay? And I have a list of all the new subscribers that will be subscribing, and then I'll cross-reference that with the who's liked the videos, right? And I will choose a winner at random, okay? And I will notify you at 9 a.m. I will notify, so it's up to you to come back and watch at 9 a.m., okay, to hear if it is you. If it is you, do a shout out in the stream, and we'll contact through private messenger, and I'll send you out this copy of the book. But we're going to read this, right? We're going to read a section of this tonight at 10 p.m. But it's going to be the whispered mode version. Okay, so I want to whisper it. Okay, so it's the whispered version. Now this book, I mean, by reading it tonight, it's not going to spoil anything, because there's 8 different characters to play in this book. You play one of 8, okay? There's 8 different endings to this book. There's 8 different ways to play it. You know, it's a book that you can read 8 different ways, and it's a different story each time. So, you know, we're going to do one of them. And you guys are going to decide which one we do, okay? So, nothing spoiled there. Then after we've done that, I mean, I don't know how long that will last, but it's okay, because I've got another 5 of my books, okay, all available on Amazon right now, okay? We're going to go through them as well. We're going to read through them, okay? So that is that. That's going to take us through till 2 a.m. So book reading from, you know, 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. And then at, we're going to do a Q&A. I'll tell you what, we'll do, actually we'll do a first Q&A at 7 p.m. Let me move that, because the first Q&A is flight simulation based. I've had, ever since I've started on YouTube, I've had so many questions on my videos. I've gone back through every single video, and I've actually, so we're going to scratch that one off. I'm going to put Q&A there. Okay. So we'll do a Q&A at 7 p.m. Okay. And this is purely about flight simulation. Loads of people have sent me questions in the past, and I've answered them, but I'm going to address them, the people that have sent the questions in, and I'm going to answer the questions in case there are other people out there in the same shoes, okay? But send your questions in. If you've got any question for me, right, send your question in, because I'll be doing another Q&A tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I know it's early in the morning, people are probably going to work, getting ready and all that, but there'll be a Q&A 8 a.m. And that Q&A will be ones that are created during the stream. Okay, so if there's any questions during the stream, just type in a question, I'll make a note, and I will address it later. Okay? Oh gosh, I've dropped my pen. Oh dear, that's going to be hard to get. Right, there we go, got that. Okay, so so that's the reading, that goes till 2 a.m. Okay, from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. and then at 2 a.m. because I'm a writer, we're going to write a book together, okay? And I'm going to credit it as co-authored by YouTube, right? And you're going to get a writing credit in the book if you help me do it. Now, this is from 2 a.m. until 2 a.m. till 8 a.m., okay? So for 6 hours, we're going to be knocking out a book. Hopefully finish it. Hopefully finish it. You know, ooh, let's, what we got here? Hopefully we'll finish the book as well. Notification to say we're going live. You know, there must be a way to get a slideshow. Can I get a slideshow going? Let me see. There must be a way to play with VLC player. No, I tell you what. There's Windows Photo Gallery. Oh, I know what it will be. I need to open a picture, but it's. I want a slideshow going. Actually, can my OBS do it? Plus slideshow. Right. Always play. Stop when not. No, I'll just end it. 8,000. I will do 100 milliseconds. Transition time 200. Actually, we'll make that 400 then. Automatic size imaging. Do a folder. In fact, we'll move all of these into a new folder. Oh shit, I'm gonna rename it, don't I? Rename it to 0. Oh, stomach. Paste. Alright, do that. Not that folder. Cafe. Oh, not that folder either. I want to copy that folder in, do we? Paste. Right, that's that in there. So that one should be full of every picture now of the plane. So we'll cut that. Put that here. Right, so go to directory, add directory, there's that directory, select, okay. Oh, that don't look very good, does it? Oh, hang on, that's going way too fast, mates. Way too fast. Right, okay, so we'll say 1,000 then. 1,000 and say 1,500 for the loop. Okay, and we need to set that to the size of the desktop. Automatic ain't doing it, dude. Oh, that's better. Oh, that's why we need to resize it. Resize it. Boom. There we go. There we go. Right. We'll do that. We'll do that. Right. So we'll just play that. Right. What was I saying? Yeah. And then we're going to do a Q&A at 8 a.m. and then we finish at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So this stream's going to end in another 40 minutes. And then it'll start again with the flights. The flights, yeah, we're going to take off at a Cessna C-152. We're going to fly from, that's still going a bit fast, to be honest. I think it needs to be double. 2,500. Try that. No, it's still going too fast. Double that speed again. 5,000. And you know what? I think we're going to just double it again. In fact, I'm going to keep it at 8,000, what it had recommended. Oh, belly. So yeah, we're going to take off in the C152, okay, which is a single-engine plane, okay. It's sitting cold and dark right now. The C152, that's it there. It's sitting cold and dark right now in Cosford RAF Centre, in the RAF Centre in Cosford, where they host the Flight Sim show every year. So that's sat there. Shame there's no full screen option. So yeah, it's sat there at Cosford. We're going to take off. We're going to fly to Belfast. Then we're going to hop in the Fokker F-27, and we're going to fly from there up to Iceland, and then all the way to try and get to New York in the time allowed. Now, if there's any questions during the flight, feel free to ask them. I'll answer them there and then, but I'll save them as well for a Q&A later on. I'm going to be talking a lot about how to have a flawless flight sim experience. I'm going to be talking about, what's the best method and best practice in, getting into flight simulation, but also installing everything, because it is a massive technological undertaking. The flight sim itself is probably 5% flying, 95% technical installing and uninstalling and configuring and playing about basically with the settings. You probably only get to do about like 5-10% flying itself, but once it's set up, it's pretty easy. It's run off pretty easy. So yeah, I think as well I might need some like music. I don't even know how well everything's going, really. Yeah, I might need some music. Might need to do some of that. So, so yeah. Um, what else? So who am I? Who the hell's this dude sat here doing this? And what? Well, okay. Let me tell you my life story, the abbreviated way. Okay. Basically, I started my YouTube channel. I think it was back in. I think it was back in 2007 or 2011, something like that. I've had one previous to this, and it was called the same name. But it was a different channel, and it was back before you wanted to be monetized. It was very easy, and I think I was monetized back then, but I never made any money from it because I didn't produce any content really. I did a few videos about my Star Wars things, which are still sitting on that channel, and that's it really. I didn't do anything with it. So, and then of course they changed all the rules for earning money from YouTube, and it was a lot harder because the bar was set a lot higher, which now my channel didn't fall into that category, and I'd left YouTube anyway, and did I had a photography studio down up in Chester, and I had a photography business as well. First, it was called Small Pictures, and it was very small, very basic. I had a few customers. I had a wicked incentive, which attracted about 10 different clients in, and they were going to be with me for the rest of their life. Had the business not changed and folded when I opened up my studio, Smile Studios, and I lost a lot of the people who were with me because they really did like the fact that I didn't have a studio and that I used natural light. And yeah, I kind of lost a few people customer wise because I almost went against what I said that I believed in almost. I don't know. Anyway, So opened up a studio, Small Studios, and I opened up also, or I helped open up, a comic book shop with a friend, business partner, on a handshake deal. Never do. Um, where basically I'd help him set up his comic book store, which is the entrance in front of my studio, and then we'd basically both run off the business of the customers coming in for both, you know. And the studio never really had a fair chance because we spent about 3 months doing it up, setting it up, and it was all movie themed. So it was all like early Hollywood. There was like the makeup section with the lights on the mirrors. There was a hairstyling section. There was loads of pictures of stars on the walls. There was even like a red, which I've still got the curtains for here, like a red, I don't know, velvet. I don't know what kind of material it is, but there was like a private changing room as well, which was also kind of like a waiting room. And then of course the studio itself, and it was like we did pictures that were very movie inspired, action shots, which I see nowadays. I see loads, but back then nobody was doing this in the UK. I not one every photographer was either doing babies or children or families or weddings. I didn't want to do weddings. I'd done weddings. I wanted to move away from that. But I still had a couple of customers who wanted me, or a couple of friends rather, who wanted me to do their wedding as a wedding photographer. And I said, okay, I did that. But I was moving away from weddings, you know. And I mean, wedding photography is very fun and very good, but they're not your shots. They're the wedding couples, and they've hired you for your style, yes. So therefore, you do kind of what you want. But at the end of the day, it's their picture. You can't just no. And to be honest, everybody sort of likes the plain Jane wedding style photography. The very artistic ones at that time, back in 2000 and what was it 15, nobody was into. They just wanted the classics poses, and nobody wanted action shots of throwing the bride in the air, or real fun shots, which now everybody does. I see everybody doing it now. But yeah, I moved away from wedding photography. I got into the studio with these action shots. I did. It was at a time as well, just before Civil War was coming out. So I was doing a lot of work with getting the figures, getting the action figures, and then setting them up to make them look like they're life-size, real people, and they do look awesome. I mean, I think there's even a couple of them pictures still on my photography page, but they do look real good. And one thing I wanted to do as well was set up in the garden action shots with these figures as well. And it was all, yeah, superhero themed as well. The photography, which I now kind of see trickling into photography. But I kind of had a big stab in the gut because whilst I was doing the studio, I found out that my ex-wife was getting closer with somebody who I'd worked with previously, and like the bombshell hit when my son handed me the tablet, and it had the Facebook feed on there from Messenger, and his pictures were in there of him in the shower. And I'm like, what's this? And scrolling back, it's very evident that they were a very close pair. And I was just totally shocked. And like we had this massive row, and I was asked to leave the house basically, because I think she wanted to start a relationship with this person. So I reluctantly, like having nowhere to go as well, I went and moved into the photography studio for a few months. I mean, I literally had nowhere to go. So I lived in the photography studio for a while, and I it was very hard because that had a knock-on effect with the way my business partner perceived me, and he kind of moved back as well and said, you know what, do what you want with the studio, and I'm just going to do the comic book shop and you do the studio and we'll leave it at that. And then all of a sudden it was, you know what, dude, I can't even do the comic book shop, I'm going to have to close that. And he locked the door to my photography studio. I was like, "What are you doing, dude? Like, that's how the customers come in." And he was like, "Well, they can go around the back." And I'm like, "What? Seriously?" He was like, "Well, I can't afford to keep my comic book shop open," which I don't understand why, because there was a lot of business coming in. I guess maybe not enough, or he had other things going on in his life. I don't know why, but he was like, "I've got to stop." So you just do what you got to do. And I'm like, "Dude, like this needs both of us. You know, it's going to be quiet at the beginning, or it's going to take a steady, slow incline. But you know, we both have to put in for this to work. One of us, it ain't going to work." And he was like, "See you later." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I've lost my business partner. I've lost my family. Luckily, there was a person who helped me out, though. There was a friend who I'd photographed as part of the testing the equipment, and they offered their spare bedroom to me. So I was lucky enough to at least have a home for the time being, which back in hindsight I didn't realize, but maybe wasn't the best idea. We ended up in a relationship. So maybe it wasn't such a good idea because of ulterior motives, perhaps, you know? So, do you know what? I think this might be just a continual stream. Might be better served as a continual stream. Anyway. So, or I might just cut it for the flight and then come back and do a flight stream. I don't know. Actually, no, we'll just do a continual live stream, and I don't care if it's saved or not, to be honest, because no one's going to watch a 24-hour stream, are they? So, we can do another one in the future and have that archived. So anyway, I left the studio then. I got rid of the studio. I said to the landlord, "I can't keep this up. I'm just going to sell it." And got my stuff out and walked away. And basically started afresh. Started all over again. Was living in Wales this time, and started to make a name for as a photographer again. Doing superhero shots, sort of different sessions as well. Like you go into the forest, there's a theme maybe of a killer, and the people in there we photograph like a movie. And when you flick through this book, it reads as a film or storyboards as a film, but they're all photographs. And that was quite popular. I did 2 or 3 of them, and but yeah, it just wasn't popular enough to earn money from. People were still just wanting in the studio, white backgrounds, that kind of photography. And I was more, let's get onto the natural world, let's get some action shots, let's get some real emotion evoked shots. Let's make it look like a movie, I want to see like what you would look like in your favorite film, that was the type of photography I was going towards. Fantastical, I guess, but if it doesn't sell, there's no point in it. So I did that, and then actually I will do this as an hour because I do want to keep this. So yeah, and then I found out that the person I was with is pregnant. We're gonna have a baby now. I'm like, whoa, oh my gosh, okay, right. But then started to distance from me, right? And it wasn't, I've had children before, so I know what pregnant women go through, and this wasn't that. Started to distance from me, like really just like as if we're flatmates now. I'm like, this isn't, it shouldn't be going like this. I've had 3 other kids, so it shouldn't be going like this. And as I was, getting into working with my favorite author actually at the time, Ian Livingstone, who does a series of books, which are these books here, Fighting Fantasy. And I've got the whole collection. And they're really fun, and they've inspired the way I do my books. And I contacted him because I thought, you know what, this would be a wicked TV series. We've got Game of Thrones, but that's going to end soon. And there needs to be a series like Game of Thrones. And the stories contained and the world that it's set in, it's very Games of Thronesy, Lord of the Ringsy, but it's its own thing, right? And there's so many different types of stories, and they're really interesting. I thought, this needs to be a TV series. and I just started a film production business, right? Because I was doing business promotional videos. I was kind of evolving my business, and I was doing business promo videos because video for promotional reasons in business was taken off, and I wanted to be right there creating these videos for companies and doing that sort of thing. So that's what I basically did. I don't need to see that. So that's what I did basically, and yeah. Why has it stopped? Oh, it hasn't. Okay. So I contacted Ian Livingstone, okay, who is the author of these books, and I sent a proposal out because I'd now set up my film company, and it had a subsidiary publisher as well. Because the idea was that obviously I was going to create some feature in the future of my own, but then I could do the novelization of it as well. Because I've been writing all my life, I've been producing stories upon stories, and I've kept them all archived, in a folder for future use. So I was like, I'll do a film, I'll write the book, novelization of it, kind of like what George Lucas did. That was the idea. So I contacted Ian Livingstone on behalf of my film production company, and I said I'd love to create a film series, a TV show based off your books. Now I understand you only wrote some of them, and there were other writers, who hold the rights to them. But we can work around that if they come back to also co-write the episode. Each book would center around an episode. And he contacted me back a few months later saying, I love your idea. I want to talk more about it. I'm really impressed, and we should do a Skype call. And I was like, wow, I'm going to Skype call with Ian Livingstone. Right? Ian Livingstone, for those of you who don't know, he is the creator of Lara Croft Tomb Raider. He created that character for that game. He has been working in game design all his life. He created the Games Workshop brand, which is the Dungeons and Dragons in America. He brought the Dungeons and Dragons from America with his partner Steve Jackson to England and Europe and sold that brand and rebranded it for the UK called Games Workshop Fighting Fantasy, and created a whole brand of business and books and magazines off that. And has been doing game design ever since, and he's recently became an OVE. So I was like, I'm going to Skype Ian Livingstone. Awesome. So so the day came, I had everything prepared. I outlined the entire, it was going to be 7 series, right? There was going to be a spin-off series. As that series was ending, there'll be a spin-off series starting, which would deal with more fantastical stories, like the ones that are perhaps set in space. And it would move on. And also, it could even work as a feature film, called Titan, right? Because Titan is the world that all these books are set in. In fact, I think I have that book. There's a book called Titan, which describes the whole world, okay? And it's real fun read as well. So yeah, I decided, all right, I'll do that. Oh yeah, okay. So that's what we did. We did the Skype call. I got on with him. I proposed everything. He said, well, who's paying for all this stuff? And I'm like, well, obviously we create the TV show, but the money would come from the joint effort. Everybody, helps put in the pot, as it were. And he was like, well, you go find backers who would invest into this, right? Then he goes, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will give you a gentleman's agreement of you have the rights of the books, right, in order to accrue the investment into making the TV show, and then we'll talk further, okay? So basically, he said to me, I could go out into the world, say that I have the rights to the books, but not in a legal sense, but just in a verbal sense, in order to get investors putting money into this TV show. I did kind of work it out that it would cost about $750,000 an episode, so it would be like high production value, each being a mini movie, about an hour's length, maybe an hour and a half in length. But the TV show would be unique in the fact that there is no main one star. Okay, so in these books, you are the hero of the story. So the reader is the hero of the story. So therefore, there isn't one set character who is discovering the narrative. It's pretty weird. So how do you translate it into a TV show? Well, each episode has a central hero that it centers around for that story only, and then you move to the next episode. But there is an overall arcing structure to the series. The story does evolve, but each episode is someone new, and you will fall in love with that person because of the actor who plays them, because how they're written, and because each main character can be from each part of the world representing the globe. So it's really going to be a global TV show. And he was really excited about this. So I went out, I got an Amazon distribution deal. Once the TV series is made, Amazon would release it on Amazon Prime. Netflix wasn't interested because it wasn't an original IP, and they really wanted Netflix originals for their show, so I couldn't get Netflix involved. But Amazon were like, yes, we will have it. But of course, I needed to make the show. So I then started talking to businesses about investing into TV shows for like product placement, like doing what basically Michael Bay does. He gets basically companies to pay for his movies. Coca-Cola, Ford, Chevrolet, they all put money in, and it pays for everything, and then they get massive advertising within the film, which is why his films are heavy on like logos, branded logos, because they're all paying for that movie. And that's what I was doing with the TV show, because the Amazon would only distribute it; they wouldn't back it financially. I think again because it wouldn't have been an original IP and the rights to everything. So I went back to Ian and I said, right, we've got a distribution deal. Once the series is made, so we need to start making the series. We need to, And he goes, well, I need to see proof of concept. You've showed me a few images, you've outlined the series, but I need to see it in order to believe in it. So he said, go away and do a little pilot, do a little demo for a pilot, because if we get the pilot made, we use that to secure money from everyone else for the whole series, to commission the series. I was like, okay, right, okay. So I went away and I did a 15 minutes piece that would demo in order to raise money for the pilot. So I went out and I filmed, and I actually, in the whole process of this, I broke up with the girlfriend I was with, right? She basically just didn't want to be with me anymore. She was like, well, I went to her and I said, listen, we're not connecting. We're not gelling like we should. And she goes, well, we're over that, I guess. I went, what? No. I said, let's talk it out. She goes, no, it's all right. We're finished. We're over. You can go. Bye. I'm like, what? So I left and I moved into a place on my own whilst working on this, and I started writing my own script for a little small indie film I was going to make called Home. And I was in the process of writing and casting it, and I met somebody else, and I ended up, moving in with her as well, whilst doing this TV series thing. Now, we filmed the demo for the pilot, that's all been made, and I sent it to Ian, and I said, here you go, and he basically said, you need to send this to Steve, because the book you've chosen is the book he wrote, so he needs to be the one to okay this, right? I went, okay, so can I have Steve's email? And I never heard back from Ian. He basically never got back to me ever again. He never sent me Steve's email address so I could contact Steve. I tried, and I think I did contact Steve, and I sent him the demo, but I've not heard from him back either. So that just kind of went away. Nothing happened to it, because I couldn't get the nod from them. I couldn't get the next step, go ahead. So I was like, right, okay. Whatever. So I then started concentrating on my own thing, and I started casting it, and then my whole life changed. As I was doing this and doing the business promotion videos, the person I was with who was also a self-employed person and a bit of an entrepreneur like me, we got presented with an opportunity to purchase from a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, his business. He was selling off this section of his business, and he wanted to move and do other things in wedding photography. He wanted to do like destination weddings, and he had this wedding fair business, sort of just sitting there doing nothing. So he was like, "Do you want to buy it?" And me and my girlfriend at the time thought it would be an interesting idea, something we could do together. And so we started a company, which was basically all about events and like putting on productions, you know. And so we used his wedding fair as the test bed, and then we also did an event for an ABBA tribute up in the Tivoli up north, and we got stuck into the wedding fairs, and we started hosting the wedding fairs, and we basically became the main wedding fair organizers for the Northwest and Wales. We did all the big venues, all the castles, all the halls, you know, all the hotels. We were doing about, I'd say we probably did about 7 a year for this first year, and when we did the ABBA tributes, we had about 400 people turn up to that. That was a bit of a success, and we started to think about doing bigger. You know, it's go big or go home. And so basically what we did is Anfield, the Liverpool Football Club, they wanted to host this northern wedding fair to end all wedding fairs. You know, there was one down in London that's hosted every year, and Anfield wanted to be the location for the northern version of it. So they contacted us, and they said, "Can you put on a wedding fair here?" And we got to go to Anfield. We got the guided tour. We got to go into the exclusive lounge, the box seats. We got to see the whole place. In fact, I think they were refurbing it at the time because the pitch was just like a sand pit. And we got talking. We had many meetings with them. And basically what they wanted to do is they were saying, like, listen, obviously football comes first, but we want to host a wedding fair. We want to host it, you know, somewhere between these dates. Can you do it? Can you get everything? And we could, obviously. We could get everybody in, all the organizers that we had. I think we had 200 people who wanted to come into this. We were going to do a booklet with advertising in it that would make its own money. We were going to be like doing competitions on the day, catwalks. There was going to be so much going on. Honestly, it was going to be going crazy. But Anfield, the bellends they are, right, said, okay, so everything's set. It's going to happen on this date. It's a 2-day event. So it's going to happen on these 2 dates, right? But at any time from now until then, even the day before, we can pull the plug. Because we don't get our fixtures in until like a week before for the football. And if it happens to land on that day, we need to pull the plug because football comes first. We're like, whoa, hang on a second. If we've booked in over 200 suppliers and you've got customers coming for a wedding fair that's been advertised in the real world, there comes a point when it can't be cancelled. There comes a point when you can't suddenly pull the plug, right? Unless you want to reimburse us for the entire thing so we can refund everybody else, you know. And they were like, well, obviously that's not going to happen. And we were like, well, good luck hosting the wedding fair then, or good luck finding somebody who will host your wedding fair, because you can't pull the plug lastminute.com. There comes a date, and it's usually like 2 weeks before the event, where everything's in place. The stone is just starting to turn, and it can't be stopped. You know, it's like you've got to go ahead with it. You've got to make a choice where either you're going to do the wedding fair or you're going to do the football. And if you're going to roll the dice and go, well, let's hope it doesn't land on it, and it does, then you're in big trouble. And then we said, we can't work with you if these are our constrictions. In fact, no company could work with these constrictions. So they were like, well, sorry, we can't work with you then. We're like, oh my gosh, did we really just hear them say that? Like, they're going to they don't want to do the wedding fair now because of that. Anyway, we walked away. I don't even think they ever held the wedding fair ever again. I mean, they want to be a football club. They've got to be a football club. They can't be a wedding fair venue destination. Anyway, so we walked away from that, and we were going through a bit of rubbing noses because we were both CEOs of the company. But this person was actually taking money from the company and using it for her own business. And I'm like, you can't do that. I'm sorry. That's illegal actually. The company's money is the company's money, and you can't just go, oh, I'm going to borrow 20 quid for this, to go get supplies for my own business. Because I think she ran like a women's accessory jewelry thing, right? And I was like, I'm sorry, you can't do that. But anyway, she wouldn't listen. She was like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm like, well, you know what? If you're not going to communicate with your partner, with your CEO, I can't be a CEO in this company. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to walk away from the company. And because I said that, she kicked me out of the house and she said, get out, the relationship is over, right? We split up. And I went and lived in a hotel for a month, right? Honestly, I could not believe she kicked me out because I couldn't work with somebody who would steal money from the company, right? Crazy, honestly, mental. Not even the half of it, right? So I went and lived in a hotel for a month, just completely depressed, losing loads of weight. And then, we started talking, we patched things up. And I said, listen, I'm sorry, I can't come back as the CEO. I've got to resign from the company. You can hire me if you want as a contracted person, but I can't work with you as a company operative because you just don't listen, you don't communicate. It's your way or the highway, and that does not work. If you're partners, you've got to listen to each other. You've got to communicate with each other. So that's what I did. I didn't come back as a CEO. She ran the business. To be honest, I was the brains behind that business. I did everything. I did all the admin. I contacted all the people. She did some of it, but I did 70% of it. Without me, it wouldn't have taken off, right? So I basically, I'll keep this brief now because we've got to end it soon. So I just basically did work as a contracted person. She never paid me for it. And I concentrate on my own things. I had to ditch the movie because the wedding venues got so big that I didn't have time to continue with the film. And then of course my main star got pregnant, so I lost that. And I never went back to it. I never went back. It's still sitting there doing nothing. I've got all the audition tapes. I've got all the materials. You know what I mean? I just need to film it. But then again, now I haven't got the equipment. But yeah, so I basically, I mean, it was short lived. I mean, she wanted to move out of where she lived because her parents lived next door, and the land that was together was once one, and it was split in half. And her parents were very overbearing, very controlling, and she wanted to move away from that. She was looking at other properties elsewhere. I mean, she would come in one day and said, "I'm buying the school. I'm going to buy the school there. We're going to move in there." And I'm like, "What? Hello? What? Talk about it first." I mean, a very impulsive person. This person was very impulsive. And it became to a point where, we had to have counselling in order to communicate with each other, because I really think she had bipolar problems. I really think she had issues other than the issues that we were having. We were both fire, basically. And when you got two people that are fire, watch out, because everyone around is going to get wrecked. And that's basically what happened to our relationship. We got wrecked, It got to a point where it was hurling insults, it was getting nasty, we weren't helping each other, and so one night she gets her family, her daughter's father, his family, they come in and say, "Dude, you're leaving now." And I'm like, "What? Excuse me?" It's like 11 o'clock at night, or no, 8 o'clock at night. And they're like, you're leaving. You're getting kicked out now. Get your stuff. Get out. I'm like, okay, I don't know where to go. I don't know if you know this, but I haven't even passed my test for driving. And it's like, where am I going to go, dudes? And they're like, we don't care. You need to leave. She wants you out. And she was like really angry, going, like honestly going mental, right? And I'm like, I don't know what to say to this. Like, it's just completely out of the blue as well. Like, no call for it. You know what I mean? like literally 3 days previous, we were all over each other, like in videos, going, "Oh, we love each other," and all this, and then all of a sudden, boom, destroyed, right? And the only thing that kept me going throughout all this was the fact that I was doing YouTube videos for the Fighting Fantasies, and I actually started them when I was living there, and you can see, and you can actually see when the bad stuff happened because you can see it in my face. And then I moved on. I moved out. Now, it happened at the same time I lost my grandmother. She passed away, which is this dear lady here, Marjorie Neal. She was the last land girl to die as well. Got a letter from the Prime Minister. So I came down to Birmingham. My mom and my family were all distraught. And I'm like, my kids are doing fine up north. My family down south is doing bad. I got nowhere to go. I need to move in with my mom. I need to take care of my mom. I need to, you know, so literally I had to drive in the middle of the night without passing my test, right? From, you know, Pontybodkin in Wales all the way down to Birmingham, right? Middle of the night, right? I mean, I am a good driver, don't get me wrong, but I just haven't passed my test. So it's like, that's the only thing that was, you know, wrong. And this is what they were forcing me to do. They actually gave me the money as well. Here's your petrol money, get out. I packed up my car with as much stuff as I could, and I drove down to my mum's. And a couple of hours later, I arrived, all safe and sound. And I was in shock, and so I started my life again. I started writing. I had 3 days, and I wrote like 2 books. You know, I put all my energies into what I do now, you know, and it got me through. And I continued doing it. I continued doing the YouTube videos, and I continued writing, and I continued learning to fly. Because when I was living with her, I wanted to learn how to fly, but because I've got epilepsy, and I'm going to go to that in more detail in the next stream, but I couldn't because, you know, my epilepsy. So I basically went out and bought the best computer I could at the time, bought all the best stuff, bought a 4K TV, got the best software. I mean, I spent about 10 grand, right? I mean, actually it was about 7.5, but I got the best of everything and all the softwares, and I wanted to learn to fly. So that's what I've been doing, basically. I even went out. This is how dedicated I am. Oh gosh. I went out and I bought all the books for your PPL license, right? So these are the books that pilots will need to have acquired, you know, the textbooks, in order to learn how to fly. There's 5 of them. And I went out and I bought lots, right? I've only got 4 of them in. Oh, there's one missing. So yeah, I basically did that. I'm still reading the books, they're really interesting, and I'm still learning to fly. And in a minute, we're going to end this stream, and we're going to start up a new stream, which is going to last for 11 hours, okay? So, if you're watching this, right, I'm going to leave the link to this stream in the new stream, okay? So if you're watching this, okay, then how am I going to do this? Yeah, stream, share, copy. Right. So this stream now is going to end, and I'm going to leave the link to this stream in the next stream so people can hop back and forth and watch the old one if they want to. And I shall continue the story of me when I come back, okay? And we're going to do the flights then, okay? So I'll see you in a bit, guys.